Hello everyone, today we are breaking down Season 3, Episode 3, The Babysitter of Monster, the Ed Gein Story. But before that, remember to like the video, helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe, and yada yada yada, let's get to it. The first thing we see is a flashback to when Ed's father, George, was still alive. It seems he has passed out in the kitchen after drinking too much the night before, and he also pissed himself. Augusta, Ed's mother, is not very happy about this, and is telling him to get up and leave the house and never come back. Augusta continues talking even more crap about him. George turns around and slaps the crap out of her. Augusta hits him with a right hook. He hits the ground and runs out of the house. Ed and Augusta are thrilled about him being gone. So this is kind of accurate. George was a drunk. He did beat up Ed and Henry a lot when they were kids. He also did hit Augusta at least once. And Augusta really didn't like him that much, and wore the pants in the family. The only difference is George in his later years was bedridden, and then would die of heart failure. The family was thrilled when he died, but he was never kicked out. We are now back in the current timeline where Ed puts on some music, he is dancing in his mother's clothes, and we see he has made a mask for himself out of Mary's face, who he killed last episode. We know it is her because there's a bullet hole in the forehead. We know Eddie gets a sexual thrill from wearing women's clothing. This is just another step in his journey, I guess you would say, trying to become more like a woman. He hears a knock at the door. It is the cops who have a few questions for Ed. Last episode, somebody said they saw Ed's car at the bar, right before Mary's disappearance. So they just want to see if he knows anything. They ask Ed the normal questions. Where was he? When was the last time he saw Mary? That sort of thing. He lies saying his car wouldn't start and he was never in town the night she disappeared. He then says his mother could back up his story. The cops say it is fine, knowing she hasn't been doing well in the health department lately. I said this in the last video as well, but the sheriff of this small town would know that Augusta died. I don't know why they changed this for the show. In reality, everyone knew she died, because it would be incredibly difficult to hide unless you just kept the body. But they had a funeral service and everything. She's in the graveyard. Ed tells the cops about how Mary had some shady connections in Chicago, that maybe they did it. The cops agree and think that could be the case. A lot of people think Ed was a simpleton, but some people think he knew more than he was letting on, that some of it was an act, and they're trying to show that here. He's trying to get the cops off his tail and point it to somewhere else. Eddie goes into town and is eating at a local diner when Adeline comes in. The two kind of had a fight in the last episode, but Adeline liked that Ed stood up to his mother for her, so she's willing to give him another chance. Ed is surprised to see her, saying, "You're alive?" In the last episode, we saw Ed kill Adeline, but it turns out this was just a dream or a hallucination. Ed has schizophrenia, so sometimes he doesn't know what is real and what is fake. The two discuss what happened last episode and kind of make up. Ed tells her that his mother is sorry for not saying hello, and next time she will be better. Adeline brings Ed another picture. This time it is of a trans person, a man who turned into a woman. Ed is blown away by this. This is basically what he wants. He then tells Adeline he has an idea and he runs out of the diner. But before that, he makes a date with her on Friday. Ed is in the graveyard, but instead of going body part harvesting, he's looking for a ring. He's going to propose to Adeline. How sweet. It is Friday and he takes her out to the graveyard for a romantic picnic. He has candles and whatnot right over some poor person's grave. She seems pretty excited about this as well. We know Adeline also has a weird fascination with murder and death, though it's not to the level of Ed's. Ed proposes to Adeline and she says yes. She's so happy. And the two start making out and are about to bang in a graveyard in the middle of winter, which is insane. But as soon as she starts going for his wiener, he sees Augusta's headstone. He then tells Adeline to stop. Ed's mother never wanted him to lay with a woman, and seeing her name reminded him of that, which made him want to stop. Ed tells her it is because of his mother, and how you should only bang if you're trying to make a child. And Ed is kind of freaked out about being a father and is nervous about it. Adeline says she understands, that Ed has never really been around children, so he doesn't know what kind of father he can be. But she thinks she can help him with that. She's going to get him a babysitting job. Now this may surprise some people, but this is actually true. Ed did babysit, and apparently he was kind of good at it, because people kept hiring him. He was kind of a simple guy, and everyone in Plainfield thought he was harmless. The show gives a very different story about how Ed's babysitting jobs went, which we will see. So he babysits the two kids, and it is not going well. It's very awkward. The two miss their old babysitter, Evelyn, who is currently in the hospital for polio, which is why this opportunity was here. Ed says he knows some magic, but they have to go to his house to see it. So he takes the two to his place, which is very, very dumb. The two sit down and Ed goes to get his magic stuff. The magic stuff involves some body parts. He shows the kids an actual finger from some lady. He then wants to show them a trick where he turns into a lady. The one kid says that's impossible. Well, Ed does the trick. He is basically just holding a severed head on top of his own. The one kid says that head isn't real. Ed gets mad and pops his head out now with one of his lady face masks. The kids are properly terrified. He drives them back home. The parents are pissed. The dad threatens to kick his ass if he ever sees him again. We are now following the kid's original babysitter, Evelyn. Now, Evelyn was a real person, but she never had polio. I have no idea why they decided to throw this in there. Ed is following her. She confronts him, asking what his deal is. Ed is mad that she took his babysitting job, that job was going to help with his family plans. He is visibly upset here. Evelyn is freaked out and walks to her car. It is later that night she is babysitting those kids who are thrilled to have her back. They are sitting around the living room when they hear a noise. They look outside and it is Ed on the lawn. The kids freak out. Evelyn looks and he is nowhere to be found. She's a little nervous though, since she had an encounter with him earlier. It is later that night and she hears another bang. She goes to investigate the basement where a window was opened. Ed is behind her. He throws a bag over her head and kidnaps her. So as I said, Evelyn was a real person who was abducted when she was babysitting. It was during the time of the Ed Gein era, and it was about 35 miles from where Ed lived, and he happened to be in that town that night it happened. So some people assume he kidnapped and murdered Evelyn, but the cops couldn't find any evidence linking Ed to the crime, nor did he have any of her things at his house. He even passed a lie detector test twice about it, and there was a footprint there where it happened, and the shoe size was much bigger than Ed's size. Ed's a size 7, the shoe size was an 11. Also, Ed tended to go after older ladies who reminded him of his mother. It wasn't his MO. But the only thing that messes with that is Ed had a box of vulvas, which is a female private area part, and some of those belong to people who were in their teens. Now, he could have dug them up or something worse. Either way, we don't know if he committed this or not. A lot of people don't think he did. It is the next day. He tells Adeline that he is ready to become a father and is ready to marry her. Adeline is super excited, but first she has to tell her mother. Her mother says no, that she's crazy. Adeline does not care, however, grabs her suitcase and goes with Ed. They get to his house. Ed goes to tell his mother, and Adeline starts cleaning up the place. Ed comes back down saying he's going to go on a hunt. Adeline hears some commotion from upstairs and heads to Augusta's room. She enters and we see Augusta rocking in her chair, which doesn't make any sense because she is a corpse. Adeline goes up to her and we see this is Eddie and he is wearing his merry mask. Adeline doesn't know what to think and then it cuts to a movie theater. So we are back in the movie time. So that scene of Eddie being in the mask and Adeline seeing him doesn't happen in Eddie's timeline. That is happening in the movie timeline for the movie Psycho. And none of it happens in reality because, as I said, all of the Adeline stuff is made up for the TV show. It never happened in real life. We're now with Ed in the shed. He is there with Evelyn, who is tied to a chair. She is crying and Ed is mad. He says he should be the one crying after she took his job. His mother finds them and he tells her to please be quiet. He starts having a conversation with his mother and Evelyn is super confused because no one is responding. Ed brings his mother to Evelyn. She realizes he was talking to a decomposing corpse, and she is in horror. Ed goes to get a bucket to make sure it doesn't get too messy. He then puts a hammer in his mother's hands and kills Evelyn. We then cut to another movie timeline. This time we are with Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was also inspired by Ed Gein. The whole hammer thing we just saw was inspired by what they did in the movie. And that is the end of the episode. What did you think? Leave it down in the comments below. And if you want more monster content, please subscribe and like the video. Check out the Twitter link in the description below. And as always, have an awesome day.